The suspect in the Charlie Kirk case has been captured. The question is now what happens. We're going to look at the evidence. We're going to look at how this thing will play inside of a courtroom, because that's where we're going. That's where we're going in this. It's no longer a manhunt. This is now a criminal prosecution. So we'll get into what that trial may or may not look like, what the evidence looks like, what his defense could be, and what the case will be all about. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Tangent Podcast. And we're just back from CrimeCon. Later on in this video at the end, once we get past the serious nature of all that we're dealing with here, we'll talk about what happened at CrimeCon. But now we're going to focus on what happened to Charlie Kirk, the young man who got captured, what investigators are saying, what prosecutors are saying, and what our analysis is of how this thing is going to move forward through our system of justice. As I mentioned, I'm Vinnie Politan, live on Court TV, Monday through Friday with 2 hours of live true crime. Great to see everyone. With me, of course, is Al Wunsch the third.
Hola, Tangenistas.
And the radio legend, Jonesy.
Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey.
This is the Tangent Podcast.
Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast.
Here we go. It's I guess it's what I would call the soundtrack of Fridays, the True Crime Podcast. Obviously, everyone still is reeling from this one, and for obvious reasons. I mean, I think what's different about this one, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. I feel like we were all a witness to this. I almost feel like I'm in the shoes of someone who has experienced a horrific crime, but having been there because of the nature of what we saw. Like, we saw life leave. And I'm going to call him he's 31 years old, leave this young man, like right in front of our eyes. We were all a witness to it. And I think it's really hit us at another level. What are your thoughts?
Okay. My thought is, first of all, it's shock. It's dismay. That ideas have led to the death of a young man. And that's what, I mean, you know, in the act itself, the violence of the act itself is so, it's just shocking. But when you look into that further, this young man died because of his ideals that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I defend his right to have them. And I should be able to say those things. He should be able to speak his mind. He should be able to give his point of view without having to worry about a bullet going through his neck. And it bothers me to the hilt that something like this has happened. And it just is so horrible. What we have seen lately with Luigi and all this other stuff are just senseless deaths for ideas and for what you do for a living. I mean, how freaked out is this? I mean, how bad are we getting in this society that you can't state your mind? You can't be a politician. You can't have an opinion and then be able to say to yourself, I don't have to worry about, walking down the street. I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about that. I mean, we've seen politicians executed in Minnesota. We see what happened here. We see what happened in the streets of New York. Okay, with an insurance executive, and that is what is just so troubling to me, that we have devolved into this situation where people cannot state their mind without the risk of losing their life. Horrible.
I would agree with Al. You hit the nail on the head there. It also shows how quickly it can all happen, and how fragile it all is. And I can only imagine that there are a lot of people around the world, especially here in America, thinking about the possibilities of something like that happening to them. Not unlike when John Lennon was assassinated, a lot of rock and rollers started getting some serious security as a result.
Yeah,
it's troubling. It's, and the whole thing that bothers me is that there's no reason for this. There's no reason why a person can't explain, their position, and that you can have an opinion different than mine. I mean, the three of us work together very well, and the three of us have very, very different views on a number of different things.
Oh, for sure.
And
for sure.
we have very, very different views on things.
I want to bring back prohibition. You two would
work.
never
It
do
didn't
that.
work the first time.
Well,
that's a good point.
We could do it better.
We could have made a lot of money though, Jonesy, if they bring it back.
That's true.
But, so when you take a look at it from the standpoint of that, diversity of ideas is the essence of this country, and the ability to be able to state your mind, regardless of the fact that I agree or I disagree. Okay, he has the right to state his mind, and what has happened here is now you've put a chilling effect on people.
But it's one step further. In this case, it's one step further, because he spoke his mind, but he gave a platform to people to debate him. And this is a guy, and yes, he's an activist and all of that, but he was a social media star and celebrity who had a platform that reached millions and millions of people. And he invited people to disagree with him and to debate the issues on his platform, giving a platform to people who had opinions who would never have an ability to reach that many people with their ideas, right? So while he created this for himself, obviously, and created an incredible following, part of that was, okay, this is what I believe. Here's my platform with millions of people watching these videos that I post from college campuses across America. And when you come up to the microphone, guess what? You have the same access to express your ideas. It's the exchange of ideas. It's the debate. And then to me, he shared that microphone. And that's what makes it doubly troubling, right? Because this wasn't just about him getting up there on a soapbox and preaching. This was him engaging the other side in conversation, which is the solution to all of this. Because what is the situation right now in society? And I'll tell you where we saw it. In our world, during the Karen Reed trial, we had people who stayed within their bubble, their sound chamber. There were people that I tried to invite onto my show because I had people from either side talking about the way they saw the evidence. And I had people who would not go on my show because someone who had a different opinion than them about the evidence in the case was appearing. And that's the truth. Because I invited a lot of outspoken people from both sides on the case, and some would not come on the show because the other side was speaking. That's when we run into all this hate, and where we dehumanize people and their opinions, is when we don't exchange the ideas, where we just kind of look at them as less than less than what's the word I'm looking for? I need to buy a vowel, but less than human to their perspective, right? They have a perspective. It's theirs. It's different than mine, but they're so low, they're so wrong that they don't even get the ability to be here with me at the same time to debate this. And once the debate ends, that's when we run into trouble. And to me, that was the most troubling part of this, because his career, his social media presence was built on public debate. And when public debate disappears, especially on university campuses, the future is bleak. And that's what he was doing. And that's why I feel so strongly about the freedom of speech that Al was talking about. But this was even one step further, which is the exchange of ideas, which is what we preach in our chat room. In our chat room, we don't have to agree. These are criminal cases. There are always two sides to the case, at least two sides to the case. Make your point, make your argument, back it up with facts. Don't make this into, oh, you disagree with me, you're a bad person. No, that's what happened in the Karen Reed case. It may happen in this case. It may happen in the Mangione case, but it shouldn't happen. And those are my thoughts. I'm sorry, I took a lot of time there, guys.
No, it's that, but you know what? You're on point with this, and this is, the essence of college is to be a dissemination of ideas and to have opposite opinions and things along those lines, and to have that chance to have your voice heard, sometimes for the first time, with where you believe politically or where you believe religious wise or whatever the situation is. And just the chilling effect that this has on discourse and on dissemination of ideas is frightening. It's absolutely frightening. It's frightening. I mean, this is what, I don't know what anyone thinks they do by silencing someone who is expressing ideas. It's not going to stop the ideas, hopefully, but it's such a, you look at the great people that have been assassinated in this country: Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. Okay, going down the line,
Abraham Lincoln,
William McKinley. Okay, who was doing, just trying to be a great president. James Garfield. Okay, just silencing them for what purpose? There's nothing that's achieved through assassination. There's nothing. You know what is achieved is a loss. It's a loss for society. And as I said, I don't necessarily agree with Mr. Kirk and what he has done and what his positions are. But I absolutely believe that he has brought to the forefront something that is wonderful, which is what you were bringing up: discourse. Conversation. He didn't back down from fighting somebody who had a different opinion. I find that to be wonderful, because I have been on shows where people have turned off the volume when they didn't agree with what I had to say and didn't want to hear it. He did want to hear it. Okay. And he wanted to combat it. Okay. And maybe I don't agree with the way he came to the decision he did. Fine. But at least he was willing to listen to the other side and then talk about it. And he's been doing it since he was like 16. So, I mean, he really, it's remarkable.
I would think that we also shouldn't lose sight of the fact that, this is the exception. The alleged assassin, clearly, in my opinion, there's something wrong up here. It goes beyond.
Oh, we're going to get into that.
Goes beyond words. The elevator doesn't go to the top floor. He's one banana short of a bunch.
Yeah, and we're going to get into. Let's first establish some of the facts that we learned from the press conference this morning, and it was really, a lot of it came from the governor of Utah, who kind of took the lead. So let's take a listen to some of what he said. I'll probably press stop as we're going through, because there's different points that I want to hit on this. Let's take a look.
Member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th.
I want to start, before we get into the timeline of what happened here, and that'll be some of the facts for the trial, how he ended up surrendering. To me, this was the right thing done by the family, but unusual. The governor came out and twice referenced the D pen, right? We try not to say that word, but it's the ultimate punishment, right?
Right.
It's the penalty of the D pen, okay? So the family, everyone knows that the mindset of prosecutors here, led by the chief law enforcement officer of the state, who's the governor, is that this is a case where we are going to seek the ultimate punishment. And despite that, when the family and the friend of the family got wind that Tyler Robinson may be the one responsible, he's admitting to it, he's providing information that is very inculpatory, they still contact authorities.
Well, being an authority, I think maybe they also realize, like, in spite of the fact that what the consequences are, there is no escape. There's like no escaping justice on this. So he may as well just turn himself in.
But it's the family that's doing it. The family is making the call. I mean, that is bold. That is brave. It is the right thing to do. But I think it's kind of unusual.
Well,
Sure.
I mean,
Especially in light of the fact that we already know the mindset of prosecutors here.
we
Sure,
saw
but there is
that.
no way out.
Well, I mean, they had not found him, and it was interesting because last night, if you were watching any of the news broadcasts, I mean, they were basically like, we're turning to the public because we can't find this guy. Okay, so they were in a quandary at that point, and that's with the fact that they had a palm print, a footprint. They had some other evidence that they were able to, try to put together, and they were still saying, we have no idea where this guy is. That's why we're putting all these pictures out there, and that's why they put the pictures out there.
They needed the help.
That right?
They needed the help.
Which is how they got Luigi, if you remember.
Mhm.
Now, with the family calling in, that's reminiscent of the Unabomber, okay, whose brother had said, saw this stuff and said, "Oh my gosh, this is I think this is my brother," but he had negotiated a deal that they wouldn't go after him with the E-pen before he turned him in and gave them the information that they needed to find him because he was in a mountain somewhere. And so like that situation, so you're right that this is a very rare instance where they don't have a lawyer coming in and saying, let's negotiate his surrender. Let's try to do this. You tell me you'll do this, we'll bring him in. And they didn't do that. They just went flat out, he's been captured. And that, that may come back to haunt, but also it may work to their advantage, showing it that he had remorse, he had all this other kind of things going on, and that, the diminished capacity defense that...
Oh, we'll get to that.
Right.
We'll get to that.
But that may be part of that.
Right. Well,
Okay.
here's, I make a comparison. High profile case, Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie. Like the parents knew what he did. They did nothing to facilitate surrender. They did everything to protect their child. Did the exact opposite. And as a matter of fact, in that case, the victim's parents, who were out at CrimeCon, had no idea what was going on. And they were begging for information, and the parents did nothing. Not only did they not turn their son in, they did everything to protect him, and they did everything to keep information from Gabby's parents, which was the outrage of that. So, but everyone that saw that, like, outraged by it, but some people are like, well, what would you do if it was your child? Well, here's another scenario. Highest profile case in the nation. It's your child. You made the call. You did the right thing. What we don't know necessarily is if there was any level of negotiation at any point that they haven't made public. We don't know that. The governor today didn't mention the D-pen again. So I don't know if something did happen. We may learn about that. But just the fact that that was so public in this, to me, was an interesting turn of events in the way he was captured. It was a friend and the family together. Let's continue to listen as we get now into some of the evidence in the case and the timeline of how this happened.
In which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger.
Okay, couple things here. Getting into building a case, he changed his clothes. So apparently he climbed on that roof in one outfit, changed the outfit when he got on the roof to the darker clothing, did the escape, and then changed back into those clothes, and he ended up getting arrested wearing the clothing that he was originally wearing. Now, he lives 3.5, 4 hours away in southern Utah, so he had to make that drive up early that morning to get up there.
It's like 250 miles.
Yeah, like, so if he's there at I don't know what they say, 8:40 in the morning, if he's there that early, he leaves like 4 o'clock in the morning. This is a guy on a mission. But he also has a plan. These conversations about Charlie Kirk coming to Utah gets us into premeditation, and it also gets us into a very specific target and a reason for it as well, which all plays into the case, Al.
Yes, absolutely. That what I'm a little concerned about is that they're giving out some details and stuff like that, and I understand that there's things that, like, right now, because of the way people are and how this is affecting people across the nation, to start throwing out the political stuff at this stage, I don't think is a smart move on the part of the governor of Utah. I think they should be keeping the motives basically quiet. They've got him. They've got enough evidence that they can go forward. And then that comes out at the time of trial, which will be down the road a ways. Right now is a time that we need to get people to start, getting together, not making more political split.
I think everyone wants to know why.
But the point is this: they don't need
a public threat. This is a very public threat.
It's not a public threat. It's a single person that did something.
There were 3,000 people there.
But it was one person. One person. They don't have any proof that there was anything more than one person. Okay, so you have a lone nut.
3,000 people.
You
that
don't
he did this in front of. This impacted people everywhere. I think there's an obligation on our elected officials, like a governor, to try to communicate with the public in something that's been very traumatic for the people that were there, one of whom will be on my show tonight. It was very close to what happened in Utah. Is going to join me on my show tonight at 8 o'clock. But it impacted everyone there. But again, I started the show off talking about how so many of us feel like we witnessed this because of this was live streamed and then the video was everywhere and we saw what happened. So I think there is some obligation to kind of give some context and some understanding as why this happened.
Do we want riots? Do we want
It's not going to cause a riot. There's no riots.
You don't know. Right now, look, there were people out making statements about what they believed was the reason why this was happening and who they were blaming. Okay?
It gets rid of the speculation.
We don't need that. No, it didn't. It actually feeds upon it. And
It
that's
does not feed upon it. Otherwise, you're going to
does.
have all these
It does.
conspiracies that are flying all over the
There's
internet.
not going to be a conspiracy. There's a trial in this instance. I don't think we're going to have a situation where a certain, cabaret owner is going to walk into the a garage and take the guy out before he testifies.
No, but
I don't think that's
the
going to happen.
concern here is who did this? Why did they do it? And are they connected to some greater network of people? That's
And you
the
know, you
concern.
could say
That's
this,
the
you could
safety
say
concern for everyone.
And you can say this: we have a belief that this, and we do not believe that there is anything else.
But you got to tell them why.
I don't think
You got to tell them why. Otherwise, everyone questions everything. If you give conclusions without a basis for it, people are like, okay, you can tell us that, but tell us why. And at least he's backing it up with some rudimentary facts behind this that I think will give an opportunity for the public to say, okay, we get it. We get what happened here. We understand it.
We need to come together and not pull apart.
That doesn't pull apart. These are the facts.
Oh, it certainly does. Look at what happened with Luigi. Look at what happened with that. Okay? You and I have seen people that are sitting there going, that guy got what he deserved, this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
How
They
many
were saying
people
that
did
before they
go
captured
after?
him.
I mean,
They
come
started
on.
raising money
This
for him
is
before he was
horrendous.
captured.
How does anybody justify the cold-blooded killing of Kirk or the cold-blooded killing of an executive who goes to work each day with a lunch pail and goes home at night to his family, okay, and kills him because he works for a company?
Right.
Right? This is where my problems lie. I don't like seeing that. All right?
No, but what does it have to do with the governor telling us why this happened?
Because now you're going to be having people going that the people on the left, okay, are the enemy. That we got to take care of the people on the left.
Well,
They're the ones that
we've
are doing
already had that in the last day or
That
so.
existed already. The question is how big of a network was this, or was this what we refer to as the lone wolf?
it. It is a lone wolf, and we know it's a lone wolf. And they know it's a lone wolf because if they didn't know it was a lone wolf, they wouldn't be talking.
And they say it at the end of the conference. He's asked the question about whether or not he thinks there's anyone else. He says, no, there's no one else, but the investigation is continuing, not putting a period at the end of this sentence, but maybe like a ... just in case.
Well,
but it seems
because-
as soon as anyone close to him knew of this, they made the call. And
They
that's
don't
the
know.
important
They
thing.
don't know how he got his weapon. I mean, there's still a lot of things that need
It's
to
a
be
hunting rifle.
right, but they don't know how he got it. I mean, he may have bought it himself. He may not have.
Yeah,
He may
my
have
guess
given
is
it.
most people in Utah in deer season have one.
Well, I would imagine that too. A bolt action rifle like that. You're right.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a deer hunting rifle.
Well,
All right, let's
he
continue.
was
Go ahead, Jonesy.
he was a damn good shot, right? I mean, like, you don't learn that hunting, do you?
no, yes,
Yeah, you do. That's
Absolutely.
a hunting shot. It was
From
like
that
400
distance?
feet.
Yeah.
400 feet.
That's not as far as you know. With you have a scope and everything else. That's not as far as you might
Yeah.
think, Jonesy.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
You know, because I mean, initially everyone was like, "Oh my God, he must be military trained and this, that, the other thing," and I was like, "No, it's not far enough for that.
He's a
Yeah.
hunter.
500 yards is military trained. Okay,
Yeah.
400 feet is not. Okay, that's hunting. That you're not going to get that close to a deer. I mean, you know, you can sometimes, but for the most part, you're taking a shot like that.
Yeah, you got to be wearing moccasins to get that close to a deer. You got to really like tip.
Well, they did it in I can't think of the damn movie. I'm sorry.
All right, Jones, you want to use your first timeout? You have 2 left. Let's get back to the press conference.
Hoffa. They did it in Hoffa.
Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits.
Okay, so this is after, I think these communications are after the fact. This is direct evidence. This is admissions. We know that the weapon was found wrapped in a towel in the bushes. My guess is the timestamp of this would precede them retrieving the weapon. So all of this is extremely incriminating. I don't believe, based upon what they're saying right here, that there will be any ability to provide a valid defense on the aspect of who did this, okay? Leaving out the mens rea, just like who did this. I don't think this is a whodunit based upon the level of evidence that we have, including all this video. And let's. I'm just going to cut this off for a second because I know he's getting into another section here, and we'll take a look at the video of the escape. And in the video of the escape, you'll see something that looks like it's wrapped in a towel when he jumps off the roof. And you can see him running across here. He runs behind the part of the top of the building that's sticking up, and then he'll appear on the right side of the building. There he is. Again, running. This is afterwards. Now they zoom in on him. You can see he's sort of holding something that's wrapped. We believe that's the weapon. He scales part of this and then drops, 15 feet or so, has the item that is wrapped and begins to run away. And it replays one more time here. So the bottom line here is, for someone to do this, you've got to be young. He's 22 years old, so you could, that matches. And he, again, flees on foot into the neighborhood that is close by, and that item appears in his hand, appears to have been found in that wooded area, which coincides with the Discord message to his roommate. So all those pieces fit together very well.
Very well.
Like it's not, it's not a mystery. Like, these things fit perfectly together. There's nothing inconsistent that leaves you scratching your head like, what? Why? No, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense.
Except why he's writing all that down.
To his roommate.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Why are you writing all that down? That's the only part I have a why on. I mean, why would you do that? Basically, it's a confession. Okay, so now that may, we'll get onto the mental defense on this a little bit later, I guess. But
we'll get in there in a second, because I have some more that I want to put on the table here, and then we'll get into the defense and the potential penalty here. So let's get back to it.
I know there has been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well, and I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this?" ? Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch! ! 'Catch!" . up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Ciao Ciao," and a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
Okay. Jonesy, you're shaking your head. Go ahead.
That last one just like struck me. What it kind of like blows my mind. Like, why would write something like that?
Where does that come from?
Yeah,
But-
it's like an attempt at comedy. I mean, what the hell's going on in his head?
Well, what's going on in his head, right? That becomes the potential defense. Now, I want to lay this out for everybody so they understand.
Before we lay that out, let's. I know we're not going to do a day in history just yet, but historically, Bella Ciao, okay, is an Italian phrase.
Right.
It means
Yeah.
goodbye, lovely, goodbye, beautiful. It was a phrase that was adopted not during World War II, okay, but after World War II by the Italian partisans that had been the ones that stood up to the Nazis that had occupied Italy. Now, initially, Italy was part of the Axis powers, okay, under Mussolini, and Mussolini was a fascist. There were partisans that were communists and other groups that had bonded together to try to overturn the fascist groups, and Mussolini was deposed, but then also to get the Nazis out of Italy. So
You think
Bella
he's that
Ciao-
sophisticated that historically he would know that?
Well, that's the interesting part of this is that it is a very, I mean, because why else would you use the phrase Bella Ciao? When I heard that was the part that, like, kind of, wow, wait a minute. I haven't heard that phrase used, and especially not by a 22-year-old.
Right.
Okay. Because I don't think that the Italians even used this. It was originally an old song that dealt with women that were working in paddy farms, that were working day in, day out.
It's a very common phrase. Like,
But
it's
it's
not, ciao Bella, ciao Bella.
yeah, but this is
Say it all the time.
Bella Ciao.
Bella ciao is different.
Bella Ciao is different. It was an old song that dealt with women that were working the fields, okay, that worked under horrendous types of low pay, long hours, and terrible tyrants that were in charge. Then right after World War II, they adopted the song as a partisan song. So there's actually 2 sets of lyrics in Italian for this song, one before World War II and then one after World War II. The one after World War II is the attempt to get rid of the fascists that were in Italy and the partisans that stood up to the fascists. So that, from a historical standpoint, where that's coming from.
Well, he wrote it for a reason, so you may very well be onto something there.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why Al is the master of history. What's interesting and ironic about all of it is that this young man believes that you fight fascism by suppressing speech you don't like, when that is the definition of fascist behavior.
True.
Is silencing speech you don't like. Like, the irony could not be richer, and it could not demonstrate more vividly how misguided he is in attempting to fight fascism by silencing speech. Like, the younger generation, if anyone believes the same way he does, is so ironically misguided. It's like it should be a mark against our education system, that these kids either don't get it or are taught by people who don't get it. I don't understand that. Like, you are against fascism, so we're going to shut down the speech I don't agree with. What? Anyhow, let's get to, so to me, Al, obviously diving deeper into that than I did on the notes, I thought, like, I jumped on what Jonesy jumped on, which is the LMFO or whatever it was, right?
Right.
And almost the things that didn't make a lot of sense to me. So it gets to his state of mind. But this is what is important, and people have to understand. You know, in most states, when you have the insanity defense, it's someone who doesn't appreciate the wrongfulness of their conduct. So arguably, if you have someone who believes he's taking out a fascist, then they believe they're doing good. So they can't tell the difference between good and evil. They don't appreciate the wrongfulness of what they're doing, because what they believe they're doing is good becomes the basis for their insanity defense. You don't appreciate the wrongfulness of your actions. Right. You can't distinguish between right and wrong. You believe you're saving your child when you're taking your child's life, but you believe you're saving your child from Satan and delivering them to God. Or you believe you're taking out a dangerous fascist, right?
Right. So in other words,
you don't have that in Utah.
Right. But the traditional defense is what we're talking about now, which is that you are not responsible for your actions due to severe mental disease or defect at the time of the crime. Okay, so that is where you get that defense. But you're right, Utah's not like that. Utah goes towards, and you mentioned the word earlier, and I just want to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about. Mens rea, okay, state of mind. Okay, mens rea, and mens rea is part of the criminal process. I mean, that's what you have to be able to demonstrate. And Utah's approach is that it negates the mens rea, okay? That if you can show that your mental defect is so severe that you didn't have the intent to commit the act, then the prosecution cannot prove the crime. So it's right. It is different. It's significantly different, and it's also an interesting way of now putting this with some of the puzzle pieces going forward. They may be trying to move that way.
Yeah. This is the only defense. And I'll put it up on the board here. Diminished capacity focuses on the argument that the defendant lacked the required specific intent for the crime.
Mens rea. That's the
mens rea. For example, a person may have a diminished capacity to form the intent to kill, which could lead to a conviction for a lesser homicide offense rather than first-degree red rum, right? So in Utah, it really doesn't get – you don't hear the words not guilty associated with the insanity defense. It's either guilty of a lesser crime, or I think they also have guilty but mentally ill, which deals with what happens to them afterwards, whether they get treatment but they never get out. Like someone not guilty by reason of insanity always has a chance to be set free. So, and the reality is that this is virtually impossible to win in a courtroom. Virtually impossible. There's always exceptions, but I don't believe this is one case where diminished capacity is going to work at all, because he knew exactly what he was doing. Everything that he did to hide his identity, to sneak up there, everything that he did afterwards in covering it up, everything he did in discussing who he was going after and what he thought of them, all those pieces fit together and completely undermine any mental defense that they would attempt. But I believe they will attempt it because it's the only thing they have if this evidence is what they're saying it is.
What else do you have? I mean, they don't give you the opportunity to have like even temporary insanity or anything along those lines. It's got to be negating the mens rea, which is a very difficult thing to do, especially in light of the fact that you see the recipe for destruction that he put in the computer.
Yeah,
that he put right there. That demonstrates a lot with regards to state of mind, and demonstrates that he knew what he was doing and was taking steps to try to protect himself from being, apprehended.
Yeah. And that's consciousness of guilt, right? So what you did was wrong, even though that's not, but you know what you did. Like you had the intent to do it. It was very specific. Now let's get into what I believe the case when it gets into court will actually be about. I'm sure this will be raised at the guilt phase of the trial. I don't think it will be successful, but they will attempt to do it because they're laying the groundwork for the part of the case that I think will be the most significant, which would be the penalty phase. Excuse me, the penalty phase, which is the punishment. Now, I am going under a presumption that the governor is going to proceed the way he had indicated, which was they're going for the ultimate punishment. Utah is a state that has the D pen, okay? They can put people on the row, okay? That's what he said. So based on that, let's look at a little bit of the law here because I don't think this is a slam dunk.
I have to just jump off for 1 minute. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah. Oh, good. We finally got rid of him, Jonesy. Holy mackerel. Now I'm only kidding, folks. So the first thing is not every case qualifies for the D pen. So there are different elements that need to be fulfilled. I believe this is one that they could argue very easily. The actor, which would be the defendant, knowingly created a great risk of death to a person other than the victim and the actor. This is in the middle of 3,000 people. It couldn't be more public. Anything could have happened. Someone could have moved suddenly in front of him. He could have missed. People could have trampled each other running out. None of that happened. But I think a great risk of death to someone else that was there that day is arguably there's an ability to establish that. I think they will argue against it, the defense. But what are your thoughts here, Jones? Like how dangerous do you see this situation? Right? Does it create that risk to anyone else?
I think it absolutely does. I think in most any case where somebody does this sort of thing, it creates risk to others, whether it be responding officers or whatever the case may be. I mean, even when people perform stunts in public or decide they're going to climb a bridge, they're creating that situation. So certainly, if you take out a guy with a gun from 400 feet with 3,000 people there, you're doing that.
Al, where are you on this? Because this is one of the ways to get it to the deep end for prosecutors.
Yeah, there's first of all, there's no way that they're not going to go for the deep end on this,
but it's going to be challenged.
It's not going. It's going to be a very difficult challenge, because under the circumstances, basically it's shooting a bullet into a crowded, amphitheater. Okay, is a reckless, dangerous act. And in and of itself, it is just inherently dangerous. So,
okay.
I mean, you're not going to be able to get around that. I mean, it might have been different if maybe he was at his car after the thing was over, there was no one else around, or that he was in a private entranceway. But at an amphitheater, 3,000 people, and I've seen videos that have come out, that showed what happened with the crowd going crazy, running and all the other stuff. There's no way that they're not going to be able to, there's no attorney is going to be able to beat that aspect of it.
Okay.
Very
There's
different.
another one. The perpetrator placed special consideration on the victim's identity. For instance, the victim is a public official or a law enforcement officer, a public servant, or the victim is a minor under the age of 14. So not under the age of 14, not a public official, not law enforcement,
Right.
but the perpetrator here had a very specific target for a very specific reason. And I believe that would fall under the special consideration. The perpetrator did place special consideration on the identity of the victim. This wasn't random. This was very specific for a very specific reason and mentality. So I think arguably they will identify this as another reason why they will seek the deep end in this case.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he's not a public official, but he is certainly a public persona. And he is being targeted because of his views, his political views. So I think they've satisfied that element of the, of the law in this instance. Absolutely.
Now, the final one, this one I'm always like, to me, every red rum is cruel and heinous, but the test is particularly. So I was thinking about how would prosecutors argue this one, because there's no torture involved, anything like that, right? But it was cruel and heinous to the 3,000 people who were there. But I don't know if that qualifies. This one I think is a little more difficult because here you're putting on a scale, you're comparing red rums to red rums. And is it particularly cruel or heinous? I would argue because of the public nature of it that it is.
I wouldn't even go on that aspect. I would just go on the fact I would show how he bled out. And there was no chance of survival on that. None.
Now, what's interesting? Did you notice this, Al? He was wearing a vest.
Yes. Yep.
And it seems like it was a ricochet off the edge of the vest.
And that's
the
right. It did
projectile
look,
hits there and then goes directly to the neck.
and he bled out. I mean, bled out in a matter of seconds. There was no way. Then that's why I think I would be able to use that as a particularly cruel or heinous manner. I mean, shooting someone, I believe, is horrible in and of itself. But the essence of that is the bleed out, the way it happened, while he was basically conscious of it. And I think that's what they'll end up doing, is they'll show that he was able to know that it was just, he was losing life in a split second of just that blood coming out. And I think you could be able to get, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that they can prove that point either.
Okay. So now you get to the penalty phase of the case. It becomes about the defendant, right? It becomes a lot about the defendant in the penalty phase. What's interesting here is we're trying to figure out, well, how does this happen? This is a kid who grows up in southern Utah and goes to school. He's 22 now, so he either graduated or is a senior. I'm not sure. He did not go to that university. He lived 4 hours away. But I want you to take a look at this video of him. This is, I believe, when he is getting ready to begin college and receives a scholarship. And let's take a look and a listen to this.
Congratulations. You have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8 semesters.
Okay.
Congratulations.
How do you go from this, right? Obviously he's got a supportive family. He's a scholarship kid. He's going to Utah State University. He seems relatively normal here. What happens? Like, how do you go from this to throwing the rest of your life away? Just throwing it away at a point where, hey, you're kind of excited. He looks a little reserved, but a little excited. I'm going to school. I earned a scholarship. It sounds like it's his mom, maybe. My mom's excited. We're going off to school. How do you get from point A to point B? That's what I think a lot of the penalty phase will be about for the defense in trying to explain this. And are they going to explain it through mental illness, or are they going to explain this through something happened to him in those 4 years?
Or just the immaturity of youth. I mean, there's you can take a look at what's been done in the past, and you can see that attorneys will turn this on to the fact that this is a young man who's confused, who's this, who's that, who thought he was going to be doing something that was going to help society, and it backfired. But this is a tough sell. It's a tough sell across the board, and
he's going to be in Utah.
Yes, which has as a D-pen. It's a lethal injection or the firing squad.
The firing squad, sure. Now, there had been some talk years ago about Utah phasing out the D-pen, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. It may happen somewhere down the road at some point, but nowhere in the near future of this case at all. Now, here's the question I have for you both, because the governor didn't mention the penalty today. Other times when he spoke, he made sure to mention it before the capture. Now he's been captured. He was turned in by a friend and family. Do you think there was any negotiation, or do you think that the governor and prosecutors may pull back on seeking the ultimate punishment here?
I think they're going to seek the ultimate punishment. I think maybe he just pulled back because, in my opinion, I feel it a little inappropriate that he was saying that before anybody was captured, charged, or whatever the case may be.
I think that the situation is that he was probably told by his attorney general, you shouldn't be bringing this stuff up at this stage of the game, okay? Because it's going to put us in a position where they're going to say he can't get a fair trial in Utah because you've already poisoned the entire jury pool with these comments. You got to be careful. You have to be.
He's getting a trial in Utah.
Well, what I'm saying is, my argument would be, wait a minute. You know what? It's like that famous scene in the trial of Charles Manson, where Manson got a newspaper and hung it up in front of a jury and said, "Nixon says Manson guilty." Okay, and he put that in front of the jury. The entire place went nuts. And then he was like, how do I get a fair trial when the president of the United States says I'm already guilty? Okay, so it's you don't want to do that. And I don't think he wants to poison, the pool. And that's a smart move on his part to keep that rhetoric down and go through it and let the attorney general be the one, or the state's prosecutors be the one that's going
right.
to say, this is what we're doing. I'm not doing what the governor wants. I'm doing what's in the best interest of the people of the state of Utah.
All right. And what's interesting is we're going to find out in 3 days, because within 3 days they're going to file all the papers. There's a certain notice requirement, and if they're going to do it, I think everything will be laid out very, very quickly in this case. If they are going to allege diminished capacity, we'll hear about that very quickly as well. Everything has, I think, about a 60-day window in it, but I think it'll be sooner rather than later. The governor mentioned that they were already preparing some of the paperwork for this, so. And that was before the capture. So that's where we are. Here's what I want to do before we run out of time. At the top, I mentioned that we're going to talk about CrimeCon or not. We may or may not. I'm going to take a survey online to see if people want us to even switch to that or come back on another day to talk about CrimeCon. But I want to get to some of the comments. And what I'm going to say is, I always put, I put random comments up. And I try to get to all the super chats and then some random comments as well. One thing that has been my mission on this live stream, on my TV show and everything else, sometimes I got to wrangle in Al. This is not politics. This is not politics. Sometimes politics crosses into the world of law and we handle it as best we can. But I never want this live stream or my television program to turn into a political debate, because that gets us nowhere.
Right.
You've got all these other networks that spend 24 hours a day talking about it in their sound chambers or bubble rooms or whatever we call them, and people online doing it. I always try to bring it back to the system of justice. I try to bring it back, but the system of justice is political. It is influenced politically, so that there's going to be that crossover. So there may be some comments, including the first one, that is going to hit one of those buttons. But with no disrespect to people's opinions, I'm not going to engage in that debate here. Okay, and me, Al, Jonesy, we may all have different viewpoints of this. Like I said, I want to bring back prohibition. These two guys are against it. I don't know why, but they are. But I guess I found out at CrimeCon why they're against it.
Obviously you didn't see our dinner tab.
Yeah. So let's get to some of the comments, but some of them we may not have a long discussion about. So I'm just kind of letting you know that. I'm just putting it out there, folks. All right. First one comes from Brooklyn Janet, our friend. Let's address the elephant in the room. GOP beholden to gun lobby. We need sensible gun laws. stop voting for Republicans. That's a pretty political statement. Brooklyn Jen, I appreciate the support, and I appreciate you airing the way you feel and believe about all this.
May I say one thing on that?
Here we go. Here we go, Jonesy.
One thing. There are more guns in this country than people.
Yes.
Okay. More guns than there are people. So I'm not going to comment politically.
Right.
With regards to what was said, but I want to prove my point. There are more guns than people in the United States.
And I'd like to say that I met Brooklyn Janet at CrimeCon, and she was
amazing.
She was delightful.
Yes. And I'd like to point out that my grandfather cut Babe Ruth's hair.
My Uncle Hep lived in Military Park in Newark.
Thank
and
you.
On this day in history. Oh, we're not doing the history thing yet? On this day in history, we're not doing
Not
that
yet, no. Okay. Sana, has anyone heard about the book, The Shooting of Charlie Kirk, released on Amazon on September 9th? All right, I saw a lot of posts about this.
Huh?
I have not seen a verification of it. Does it exist? If so, who wrote it? How did they know? It's very eerie if it's true, but I also know people can do deep fake things online. So I am not sure. If that is true, there's more to this. If it's not true, then it's another one of the deep fakes that we always have to be careful about, especially in the moments after something like this and we're trying to get to the truth.
It's gotten to the point with AI that I can't believe cat videos anymore. For real.
True.
I mean, for real. Like you see these cats doing stuff that...
My favorite ones are the babies that talk now. Have you seen the babies that talk?
Yes.
I miss the dancing baby. Remember when the internet first came out? Like there was a dancing baby. I hated it. But all the ladies I worked with thought he was adorable.
Yeah, but now they talk. It's amazing. All right, Cindy Vance. The why will never make sense. If we could understand, then we would be just as disturbed. That's interesting. So I think what Cindy is saying here is that this is a case of mental illness. Mental illness will absolutely play a role in the penalty phase if they're seeking the D-pen. May or may not impact guilt or innocence because it's so difficult in Utah. But I think everyone's going to react that way, that to take your whole life as a 22-year-old and like nothing is going to get like a case of a 22-year-old, taking someone out in a vendetta, personal vendetta where someone, was threatening them, or they're involved in crime and they're trying to escape and they feel like someone may catch them. Like a 22-year-old can throw your whole life away that way. Not that that's excusable, but I understand that. And I understand how someone can have a criminal mind without being mentally ill and do that.
A 22-year-old has not yet learned that this too shall pass.
Yeah. But how does a 22-year-old like not understand, like your whole life is over? It's over. Like you like to play video games, whatever you like. You like to have a good meal. You like to maybe give your mom a hug. That's all gone. It's gone. Like that. So I always think that there is some level of mental illness, which again is different than legal insanity and can be different than diminished capacity. Thank you, Cindy. All right. I'm just scrolling through here, get all the super chats first.
And I'll say that anybody who would do something like this is bat crazy.
Yeah. Okay. PMD jumps off the roof with gun disassembled, then reassembles it and leaves it in the woods. It makes no sense. Too many questions. Do you believe, we'll take another look at the video, as he's jumping off, do you believe that the weapon is disassembled? Let's take a look. I'll get us out of the way here. 1 second.
I don't know why he wouldn't just leave it on the roof.
Well, I think he planned on going back to get it because that's what that message was about.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
All right, there he is running all the way away. Can't quite tell from there. Let's see. Is he jumping off? I think we get an idea. Does it look disassembled or does it look like it's together? Can you tell? It's hanging a little bit, so it could be disassembled.
Disassembled doesn't take a lot to put back together again. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
Well, I think
breakdown.
we get the best look right there before he jumps down. We get a look here. Oh, I got to go back a little bit more. I'll try to hit the pause just at the right moment. All right. Does that look disassembled? I think it could be assembled. I really do. I think the floppy part, like the top could be there, and the other part could be flopping a little bit.
I don't know.
But here's what's going to happen with this.
Easy to break it down. It's probably easier to jump with it broken down anyway.
Yeah. PMD has a lot of questions, and I think this is going to be one of those stories and cases that will, regardless of what happens in the courtroom, we will still continue to have questions about. I think people will continue to have questions about it. They may never be. I just hope that this, whatever happens, is done transparently inside a Utah courtroom, which are generally transparent with the information and whatever happens inside the courtroom. Brooklyn Janet's back. Why weren't flags raised at half staff last month when Democratic representatives were gunned down in their homes? Kirk not elected.
Very valid point. Very valid point. Very valid point.
Did you read that one's going to be an insanity defense? Did you read his manifesto in Minnesota?
Yes, I did, and that'll definitely be an insanity defense. There's no doubt about that.
He thought he was getting people out of the way so the governor could be the senator.
Right.
Does the insanity defense ever work, with the exception of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
No, the insanity defense. Let's take a look.
Wait. Go back to the early 80s. When did it work?
Colin Ferguson?
No. It worked with Ronald Reagan.
Right. And was it Hinckley?
Yes.
Oh, yes. And he was freed.
And by the way, Utah changed their insanity defense law in the aftermath of the Hinckley not guilty by reason of insanity verdict.
Just quickly.
After that happened, they changed to diminished capacity. They took the not guilty by reason of insanity off the books in Utah as a direct result of what happened to President Reagan. The
interesting thing with regards to insanity and temporary insanity, it all stems back to a case that occurred in the late 1800s. Right before the Civil War, an individual by the name of Dan Sickles, who was a Tammany Hall politician in New York City, had a wife who was many years younger than he was, and he was extremely jealous. And she was having an affair with, believe it or not, Francis Scott Key's son. And
Junior.
That wasn't Junior.
Frankie Jr.
It wasn't Junior, but it was Francis Scott Key's son. He came in, stormed in in the bedroom, found the two of them together, and then red rummed the young man. Didn't red rum the wife, red rum the young man, and they came up with the so-called temporary insanity defense. He was acquitted of that, and then ended up becoming a general during the Civil War who ended up losing his leg at the Battle of Gettysburg. So that's where we get it. And the Edwin Stanton, who became the Secretary of War, and then Secretary of State under Lincoln, was his lawyer in New York for the insanity defense.
Interesting. And that, to me, that's more of a passion provocation.
Yes, right. That was, but it was that he was so
defense there.
He was, and I don't think nowadays you'd be able to use that as a defense as well as, but back in those days, it was so unheard of that something like that would happen that Ed Stanton was able to get them acquitted, not guilty by reason of temporary insanity.
All right, beautiful Messy Ball, who was out there at CrimeCon. Being misguided, ignorant doesn't take away responsibility or equate to insanity. Correct. It doesn't mean that they didn't know that killing is wrong. Correct. And what's interesting, again, beautiful Messy Ball, is that in Utah, right from wrong is not the test because it's diminished capacity, not legal insanity. There is no not guilty by reason of insanity. There's only diminished capacity, which could lower it from first degree to something less. But perfect legal analysis by beautiful Messy Ball. All right, I just want to get current because we're running out of time. I think the way this is going to work out, folks, is we'll do a separate everything that happened at CrimeCon live stream, because I just think this story, too much going on here, and I want to get to some more of the comments, and we're going to be done shortly anyway. So
while you're looking for a comment, just a couple of quick things that happened on this day. Today in 1609, Henry Hudson discovered what would then become the Hudson River. For those of you who live on,
isn't that ironic that he discovered a river that was named after him? Like he could have discovered like a different river, but he discovered the Hudson River.
He could have discovered the East River,
or the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, but he found the Hudson River. The sad part about it is that in 1611, he is actually forced off his ship, and with his son and 7 other guys set adrift, and they never heard from him again. Okay. And in 1953, JFK marries Jackie Lee Bouvier in St. Mary's Church in Newport, Rhode Island. And in 1966, the Monkees debuted on NBC.
Oh!
They knocked the Beatles off the charts.
That's right.
The Monkees.
That's right.
PMD, who is not from the U.S. but lives in Spain, teaching English, which is awesome. Many of my students say they're afraid of the U.S. because of guns. The United States, very safe. If you want to know where you can go, you can't go. Send a note to me, Alan Jonesy. We'll tell you the neighborhoods to stay out of.
Stay out of my neighborhood.
Stay out of Jonesy's neighborhood. Al's neighborhood, you'll be very, very safe.
No problem there.
Very, very safe.
No problem there.
But no, the United States is safe. But like any other place, there are some neighborhoods that might not be safe. There might be some events that may not be safe.
But there's some parts of Spain that are not safe. I mean, there's certain.
The running of the bulls. They got bulls running through the streets.
That's
How
right.
safe is that?
Yeah. Let me tell you
That's
something.
not safe.
That's a lot of bull.
That seems very dangerous, by the way. Gringa. Politics is its own thing. The reasons people commit red rum are their own things. There's no justifiable reason to mix them. Thank you, Gringa. Well stated. Well stated. April Diaz, if you plead guilty, can you still get the D-pen? And have a great weekend. Loves. April, we're not going to play the song this time. We're just trying to keep the tone a little more appropriate. And like, I think we're all still in the wake of what happened here. But thank you so much, April Diaz. Thank you for your support. Now, this is an important question because this happened in the Parkland school case. The offender pleaded guilty to the charges with no deal. And then they had a trial, and the trial was D-pen or no D-pen. So yes, you can still get the D-pen if you walk into court and say, I did it. And prosecutors can still seek it if there is no agreement to not seek it.
And the famous case of Leopold and Loeb was the same thing, where
Who?
Leopold and Loeb. Okay, the young men that red rummed a young, tried to do the perfect crime and had red rummed young man, and Clarence Darrow had represented them. And
Of course,
Darrow,
I didn't hear about it. It was before Court TV.
Then Darrow I was in the audience. Darrow was there, and what he did was he had them plead guilty and then argued against the D-pen, and it turned out that they did not give them the D-pen. In that case, the judge, he waived a jury, and the judge had to make a decision, and the judge ruled against the D-pen.
Alexandra Amato with a super sticker showing support. Thank you so much, Alexandra Amato.
Very nice.
You Italian? Maybe. I don't know. Could be. What do you think?
May I call you Alex?
Remember Clam Amato? Clam Amato?
No.
Oh yeah, that was that what you call it? They had the tomato juice. That they had like clam juice in the tomato juice.
Oh yeah, I thought it was a person. That Clam Amato. I know that.
Right.
I thought he was like a boxer.
Was it
Clam
Clam Amato?
He fought Rocky Marciano back in like 1942.
I remember.
Wasn't he the drummer for Blondie?
He was the guy. He was going out with the hat check girl in the in that club down the road there.
By the way, folks, over 3,500 folks. 3,500 people watching, including on the Court TV YouTube channel, where Teresa Bell has become a member over there.
Nice.
If you're not subscribed to the Court TV YouTube, subscribe right now and get your membership, where you get lots of great perks, amazing community, amazing folks over there at the Court TV YouTube channel. We're also streaming on mine and of course on Facebook, Twitch, and X. And Gen X, one of our great mods, thank you so much, reminding everyone to hit the like button. All right, we're almost out of time here, so I'm going to get to a few more of the questions. All right, Norm, what the bleep is a D-pen? That is...
But you know something? The reason you call it
Norm,
you call it the D-pen, he does the same thing with the F word.
Right,
The
exactly. So we're not saying the whole word because YouTube does this thing where they will not let people see your video if you say certain words. Because they have not anointed us as news, right? They've anointed us as, I don't know, just any old people that are streaming their podcast. So we try to use words so they don't set off any alarms or red flags with the what do I call them? With I have a word for these people on social media. Like they don't understand true crime.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah, I have a word for. Like they don't understand true crime in our community, so oftentimes they will suppress our videos because we're talking about things that are serious, but it's news and it's important and it's what we do. But there's such. I'm trying to think of the word. Oh,
control.
Yeah, but they're to a certain extent, and I can't even say the word because that word will cause a problem. But anyhow,
can you say censorship?
Yeah, censorship. They're censors, and they senselessly censor true crime content.
Standards and practices?
No, they're not. No, they have no standards. Because you know what gets all the play on social media are people breaking wind in public with their fake machines, like breaking wind in people's faces.
I don't like breaking wind stuff. I like cat videos.
Those videos are like, oh yeah, look, he's breaking wind on an old lady. That's funny, ha ha ha. And that's what social media supports, as opposed to discussions about things that actually impact people's lives. But that's the long answer, Norm. Was his name Norm?
Yes.
Norm!
Nami. Hey there, Nami.
Hey, Nami. All right. Let's see. We've got another one here from Mary D. Thank you so much. Love y'all, but this is for the amazing mods, says Mary D. Frankie Figs, Gen X, Jennifer Soubey, and of course, Ashley Bouchard.
Love the mods.
Wild West of Facebook.
Love Mary D.
Yes. Margaret Cipolla.
Oh, sticky fun.
With a super sticker. Oh, by the way, we have some super stickers. We have tangent super stickers now. Again, so I think what we're going to do, folks, because we're out of time, we want to give it the time. So we're going to, at some point, go live on a sort of a CrimeCon recap. So, guys, you may have to work this weekend.
All right.
It's fine by me.
That's fine.
All right, so I'm going to have to grab you for an hour this weekend to do something here.
All right, so just let me know when, because I got the Czech game on Sunday.
Yes.
You got the Savannah.
Jonesy's got his radio extravaganza on Sundays also.
You'll also be lucky if you can hear me from my home studio, because there's a concert on the beach 2 blocks away.
That's right.
Rock and roll. Is it that rock and roll, the Devil's music?
I can't believe rock and roll is coming to Asbury Park. I object to it. In fact, I really do hate the concert because they're bad neighbors, baby.
Who's playing down there? It's like the seashore.
De La Soul.
De La Soul.
LCD.
De La Soul.
LCD Sound System.
I like Filet of Soul.
ZZ Top. There's like 20 bands.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
Just one I would hate.
They're really bad neighbors. I sit on my lawn and listen to it and make fun of them as they go by.
Can you rent out your parking spot and make some money off it?
I could, but I'm on the Condo Board Association. It wouldn't feel right.
But you should raise money for the whole condo association and do.
Oh, screw them.
And do Jonesy's valet parking.
They got enough of my money. Oh yes. I was going to be valet. Remember, I was helping you with your suitcase, and you said I was dressed like a valet. So you know what you did when you left CrimeCon? I kept hanging around the elevator, grabbing people's wheelie cases, and I collected $72.
Nice. $72.
Mary Parado, thank you for not crossing over to politics. Love your podcast here and on Court TV. Thank you, Mary. It's as soon as you cross that line, there's like no going back.
I know.
It gets
And
dangerous.
notice I was very good, Vin.
You were very good, Al.
I was
didn't have to
surprised
hear
that you showed comments in that regard.
Yeah. No, I think everyone understands. It's like there is a political part of our criminal justice system, no doubt. It's political in that in many jurisdictions, judges are directly elected. So that's politics. In other jurisdictions, judges are appointed, like in the federal system. That's politics. My father, appointed by President Reagan.
I met a guy who waited on your father at a Montclair restaurant.
He got a good tip, right?
Yes.
Of course.
That's why he remembers him.
Yeah. And my father got a good table because the maitre d' got a nice handshake on the way in.
Ooh.
The only way to do it, my friends. The only way to, although they wouldn't go that way with me in Colorado for some reason.
Yeah, that was interesting. But going out with, and again, I don't want to cross over to what we're going to talk about CrimeCon, but I'll just say for the record, going out to dinner with Al, and and I didn't say this at the time, but it was like going out with my dad. Like I miss my dad so much, but it was like going out. Not that you're old, Al, but like that same presence, larger than life, and all of that. It was so wonderful to share those dinners with you because it's exactly what it was like as a child or as a young adult going out to dinner with my dad. The funniest thing is we would sit down to eat at a restaurant. It didn't matter where we were. And I'm like, me and my brother, my mom, my dad, and my dad is like bouncing up off the table, talking to this one's coming over, paying respects. And I was like, what is going on here? What is going on here? And then, as I got older, I figured it all out. And that's Al. Like that's Al. And I guess that's one of the reasons for this, for why we are together here. I think he's like placed here for a reason. So that makes
he was placed there to teach me dinner manners
and teach you dinner manners. Which fork do I use? Oh, which fork?
How do I take this bread piece without touching it?
All right, gentlemen, we are out of time for today. But stay tuned, folks, because we're going to do the big CrimeCon wrap up. We've got videos, we've got pictures, we've got stories. And we'll do that. I know we won't get the same large crowd that we got today, but that's fine. But we'll do it at some time, hopefully this weekend. If we can get the boys in the band together this weekend, we will try to do that. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the super chats, and thank you to our amazing mods. And thank you, everyone, keeping the conversation, for the most part, very civil. Not diving deeply into the politics, not making it personal, and not villainizing people who think differently than you. That should be the lesson from all of this. And thank you to AB watching from Scotland. Over there. And Scotland is part of the UK, right, Al? So they're all part of the UK. Yeah. Scotland, Wales, Ireland, England, and Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland,
which is different than Ireland.
Ireland, there's two different Irelands.
My grandparents
Ireland.
Came over on the boat from Scotland.
From Scotland?
Yeah, I looked them up on Ellis Island. It's really cool. You can look them up, and and they have to have like a person that they're going to see here, a sponsor, and it tells you where they're going to live. They're going to live on Mulberry Street in Newark. Look
at that. Nice stuff.
Nice.
We've got one more, and then we got to do our goodbyes here. We've got Buck's Basement. Charlie Kirk's murderer was basically a 4chan edgelord and loyal follower of Nick Fuentes, whom was in an online war. It was alt-right versus alt-right. You're speaking a language I don't quite understand. Yeah. I know 4chan is a thing. I know it's a big thing, but I don't know I don't understand it. Nick Fuentes, I've heard the name. Not very familiar with his online war. Alt-right versus alt-right. Possible, not possible, I don't know, but we appreciate you chiming in there, Bucks. And if it is something like that, that could play into the defense if they feel like he was being, subsumed into a world and had some break from reality. That'll clearly be part of his defense. Thanks so much. All right, Al, where can people find you?
Okay. Well, first of all, the phone call that I took, that's why I had to step up. So my plans tonight to have dinner with Rob Reiner have been canceled. Rob is not feeling
Where's
well.
Meathead going?
He's not feeling well. So
You were having dinner with Rob Reiner and you didn't invite me?
No, I'm sorry. I could not invite you. I apologize.
Is
on
Gloria going to be there?
that. Gloria's not going to be there. But
They got divorced.
oh, jeez, I'll be there. So Archie will be there, and no one's going to be there tonight, so that's off. So I have an open night tonight. Tomorrow, Savannah Bananas playing at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, wow.
Sunday, I've got the wonderful Jets playing the Buffalo Bills. And Monday, I've got closing arguments with Vinnie Politan, 8 to 9. And hasta la vista, Los Tensionistas.
Al, where can folks find the radio legend? I mean, Jonesy.
Al, where can they find the radio legend?
They can find him right below me, right down there. See?
Hey, what are you talking about? GlennJones.net, Glenn with one N. That's where you can find all of my AMs, FMs, and streams and archives.
Just remember, it's Glenn Jones, one N, because his mom was so poor she couldn't afford the second N.
Kind of like Sheldon on The Odd Couple, because he didn't have an O.
That's right. Sheldon didn't have an
Sheldon
O.
with no O?
Yeah.
Played by Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner, that's right.
Oh, my.
On The Odd Couple. With
Full
Myrna
circle.
Turner. Myrna, Verna, and it was Myrna, Verna, and Myrna Turner.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, we were so serious today.
And Werner Turner. It was that was the family. It was Myrna, Verna, and Werner.
Myrna.
We were so serious today that when you described him as a lone wolf, I had to every power within me. I had to stop from bringing up Laverne and Shirley. Rennie was the lone wolf.
That's right.
That's right. All right, folks. You can find me Monday through Friday on Court TV, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. 2 hours of live true crime. Only guy in the business doing it. Night in and night out, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. Al will be with me on Monday. Tonight, we're going to be talking, obviously, about this. We've got someone who was there and a witness to all of this. And obviously, we'll break down every other development that we are learning. 9 o'clock tonight, interesting case. Cody Thomas. Cody will be on the case down in Central Florida in a case involving allegations of cop-on-cop violence. It was a love triangle. But we're going to get some details on that. He'll be with Mark O'Mara, famous attorney. We've got one more here. This is James, Alaskan Jim. Love you, boys. Oh, boy, I'll bring my shoes and glasses so I have them. Ha ha. Let's continue. Open Hearts versus Us. Great show. You help me smile. Sadly, us. Thank you so much, James C. Alaskan Jim. Appreciated so much. All right, that's it. We are done for now. I have to run, but say good night, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
Wait, we got to do that one more time.
Take two.
Take two. Say good night, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see all of you in court. Somebody say tangent. Tangent. Somebody say podcast. Podcast. Tangent, tangent. Podcast, podcast. This is the Tangent Podcast. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see you